Riverside is currently my favorite tool for podcasting, for recording video interviews. I basically use two, well maybe three tools to record video. What I'm doing right now here, I'm using a tool called OBS Studio, which is great for just firing up a quick recording your web camera or screen capture. I used to use Camtasia for that sort of thing, but for some reason I just like that I can kind of configure all sorts of scenes in OBS instead. But then when you want to interview someone for a podcast, how do you do it? Well, do you meet someone on Skype? That's how it used to be done maybe 5-10 years ago, but there's no built-in recording with Skype. And then you say, well, do I screen capture the video? And it doesn't come out good. So then your logic goes to, well, do I try GoToMeeting or Zoom? And the video quality on those definitely leaves a lot to be desired, which you might not realize at first until maybe you start putting your podcast on YouTube, or especially for me, my major frustration was when I began creating the short reels for TikTok and Instagram and LinkedIn, when you have those kind of vertical phone clips and you're it's like really zoomed in and it adds the captions, and I just noticed that I cringed every time I looked at those Zoom recordings that were already pretty small, but then were even smaller and enlarged and re-encoded, and I thought there had to be something better, there had to be a better way. Previously, I had used StreamYard, and I found also the video quality back at the time to not be very great. And then it had just way too many features. I was so overwhelmed. So I settled on Riverside. I was using that for a client. One of my clients is AutoPR. I'm the host of their Scaling Secrets podcast. I was really impressed with Riverside because it records both sides locally. So you create, and we'll jump in Riverside in a moment, you create what's called a studio or a meeting room. You jump in, you're on camera, then you give someone else the link. They jump in on their computer or their phone, they're on camera, you see each other side by side, you start recording your conversation, and what you see of each other is a low quality stream, basically the Zoom quality version, but then while that is being recorded, both sides are locally recording their own high quality version and just like slowly trickling and uploading as you talk. And then after your discussion is over, then if the local high quality sides of the recording are still not done, then it will kind of upload those last few percentages. And then what you will be left with is so many options. You will have side-by-side recording. You can download just one side of the recording or the other. And Riverside also has some features like they'll generate a transcript for you, and you can create reels where it finds the important clips for you right in there, not even an external tool required, adds captions, so it's amazing. And there's even a built-in video editor. So let me show you Riverside, because once you use it, there really isn't that much to click on, but if you have not used it, then it may be a little scary and awkward. So we'll go to this website, which is riverside.fm. So riverside.fm, and I will get logged in. Rolling out the red carpet, they seem to love that phrase. And so here's what I'm looking at, is you have these studios, so you can just click this plus sign and create the name of your podcast. And then, so this is my Marketer of the Day podcast. I click on Go to Studio, and then right up front, it says, here I am on camera. You choose your camera, your microphone, your speakers. You say, I am using headphones or I am not using headphones. You join the studio. And then here we are right here on camera. And we can adjust these sorts of things later. And one thing I used the other day was this low data mode. So I was interviewing a very nice gentleman from Africa where the internet quality was not very good. So you can click on this if you're in the middle of a podcast, and it will shut everyone's cameras off, but it will still record both sides of the conversation. So that's useful. But you make sure that everything is ready to go. And then what you do is you see this link, you click on copy link, and this is what you hand out. So I have this plugged into my Calendly scheduler. Someone chooses a time slot with me to meet for a podcast, and after they choose it, instead of connecting to Zoom like I used to, it gives them this link. And then if the podcast is happening right now and they're not showing up, you copy the link and send it over. But also, you click invite by mail and enter it right in here. I found that great as like a last minute. If they don't know where the link is or they're not showing up, you just enter there. And it doesn't even matter if it's, if this stays here afterwards, you just send them the invitation right in there. And then, so let's say that I'm testing this out with my phone, right? I have the Riverside up on my phone and I invited myself. I click the link on my phone here, and then I type in my name and I join. And so someone joins it and they see, similar to what we saw before, where it's like, okay, what's your camera? Are you using headphones? So I'm here on my phone about to join. And then you as the host, you see this, they're in the lobby, let them in. So I guess my one and only gripe with Riverside is that there's no sound on this. And Zoom, if someone's trying to get in, it says, didn't. They're trying to get in, but you see this, and you let them in, and I will mute myself. There we go. We're muted so we don't have echo. And then how do we mute this other person? Echo cancellation. All right. How about that? We turn their volume all the way down. Did that work? Anyway. Turn the volume down there. Okay, there we go. So now we can talk. But basically you see that here's me as the host and then my guest, and let's say I'm here as the guest. And then so we can say hi and make sure everything's working, and then we basically just hit record and start recording, and that's all there is to it, right? And then when we're done, we click leave and end session for all, and those are pretty much the only two things you need to worry about. So we click record, start recording, it counts down, try to find a more flattering angle, right? And then we both talk, and you see how up here it says 0% uploading. So as we're talking, it's slowly uploading the higher quality version. And then when we're done, then I click on the stop button. We're done recording, and you can see that both sides are uploading their version of the recording. And this is important here to tell the person to keep their phone on or to keep the browser tab open until their side is completely finished uploading. And there we go. Now the phone is finished uploading. And then you wrap up your conversation, you say bye, then you end session for all, and then now my phone is kicked out. And then here's where the recordings appear. So then this doesn't take very long, but it is a high quality recording, so it does take a few minutes. I would say maybe like 20 minutes at the most to get this all done. And then what you end up with, let's just go over to this previous recording here. And here's what you have, is you go here and you can click on export all, and this will give you all the tracks separately. This will give you audio only. This will give you just your side of the video, just their side of the video, so you can import into your favorite video editor and really have a fun, very diverse video recording that cuts back and forth. And that's great if you're an advanced user. But if you just want a quick recording, you just go to the top here, you click on edit, and then by default, it will bring this up side by side, and you can cut out any part of the recording that you want, and then you can set this layout here and decide how you want it, right? So you can have it where when she's talking, it switches back to me, then when I'm talking, or you can do it where, I think there's a setting where like the person that's not talking is in a small box, and then when the other person's talking, they're in a larger box. But personally, I prefer just the grid, which gives us here side by side. And we can just click on export, and then normalize audio, remove background noise, and click on export video. And then what that gives us is then that will appear well, here's the draft, but it'll appear here and say it's like exporting. And then when it's done, you can just click on this download clip button, and that gives you the side-by-side recording of both of you. And then what I personally do, this is just my preference, I will also grab a copy of just the guest, and I'll download this high quality. And so what this does is this is her side of the conversation. And so when she's talking, she's in there, she's full screen. And then when I'm talking, the camera's still on her and you can't hear me, and she's just kind of sitting there awkwardly. But I like having the guest video. That way I can import it into another tool called OBS to then get the clips. And speaking of clips, here's what else Riverside does. There's this thing here called Magic Clips, and it will generate clips. And just like anything AI, you do have to wait and come back later. So we have this recording, and it's kind of combing through, and it's actually going faster than I expected. It's finding some important moments from our show, like little 60-second viral moments, and we can go and it will add in captions, and we can kind of adjust them and see what amazing pieces of the show it pulled out. And I'm actually getting tired of waiting for this, so I'll go back and I'll find, I know that with Chris Fenning, we clicked this previously and it generated all these magic quotes. So you click over here and, whoops, go here and we edit. And here's what the magic clips gets you. Here's a transcript of the whole recording, and then the part where we're speaking here, if we start playing it maybe, there we go. So you see how most of it's crossed out, but then the one piece of the recording that it found helpful, it puts it here, it creates captions here, and here's how this works, is if you want to adjust it, you say, well, I want to start the clip here, you highlight and you delete. If you want to start the clip further back, you highlight and you say restore. And you can take out the pauses, or if it transcribed some of the words incorrectly, you can go here and correct and change the word that appears in the transcript. Then we can go to layout and we can play around with, do we want to have just the guest? Usually I would, but his camera is a little bit off, so we can do either picture-in-picture or the split screen. I kind of like that because the emphasis is on him. Or then we could do the grid, which is, I like probably the least because I'm just sitting there awkwardly while he's talking, but that might work for you. And then when you're done, you click on export, and then it will give you all of these little tiny videos. And then when it's done exporting, you click on download, and now you have all of these short video clips. And that's a little bit of an advanced feature, but the only really two things, oh, here we go, and a recording set. So the only two things you need to know about Riverside is, number one, you go to Studio, and that's basically your recording space, and you go in there, and that's where there was the side-by-side recording. And then once your recording's done, then you go here, and you can save the side-by-side with 2 copies of me, and then you can download all the tracks or just the individual sides of the conversation. But I'm really loving Riverside these days, especially compared to Zoom, just because I loved the convenience of Zoom, but I didn't like the low quality recording, and Riverside records both sides individually and then uploads it later. So I highly recommend Riverside for any kind of podcaster that wants decent recordings to use on social media. So riverside.fm is the way to do that. But you know, having a tool and using it are two different things. So wouldn't it be great to have a podcast team to run your podcast for you? It's great that you show up and record podcasts, but what about getting guests, making you a guest? What about producing, putting it on the social platforms, podcast platforms, making these clips and getting those adjusted, doing the show notes. It seems like a lot, right? Well, that's why you're in luck, because I'm Robert Plank from dfypodcast.com, and me and my team would love to run your podcast for you. And so that way, all you have to do is just show up in that Riverside room, the studio, and do your meetings. And you can even just give us your Riverside login and we'll pull the recordings out of there, or you can attach the recordings to us and give us any of your own special custom instructions. Let's make the podcast the way that you want it to be done. And if you've ever tried to run all the multiple entrepreneurial hats in your business, it's called context switching. It's not fun, right? So you have to show up and be the host and edit videos and upload to all these platforms. It might work for a while, but it won't be consistent and sustainable and predictable. You need a team to do it. Your team is at dfypodcast.com. I'm Robert Plank, and use Riverside, make a podcast, and use our team to run your podcast. Robert Plank, dfypodcast.com.